What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Dead Noise. I'm Chris, and thanks to the power of Zoom, I am here with John and Will from the Atlanta, Georgia, Southeastern United States band Pistols at Dawn. How are you guys doing today?
What's up?
What's
Thanks for
up?
having us.
Thanks for having us. We're doing great.
Feeling good.
I've seen your stuff on my social media feeds all the time. For probably the past year or so, it always comes up on my feed. So
Nice.
I really like what you guys are doing, and I'm excited to talk with you guys too. Thank you so much for the time.
Hell
Cheers.
yeah. I mean, that means that all of our grinding on like all the social media stuff is
We're
paying
doing
off.
something right.
You're seeing all the crazy last minute 12 a.m. ideas like, well, I just had the best idea. I'm gonna send you a video. Like, copy me.
I was wondering if you guys had like a concrete social media strategy, because whatever you guys are doing, you're great at it. But I didn't know if all of it just comes right off the cuff like that.
So a lot of it is us just kind of letting it rip. We have days in the week where some of us are responsible for some days and others. And Adam, he's not as big into like the social media. Our drummer, he's not as big into like all the social media stuff. So you see less of him. But then when we sprinkle in a little bit of an appearance of him here and there, just to add some pizzazz, it brings a little bit more power to it. But for the three of us, no, we're always just, last minute, like, hey, this is a great idea. Hey, I saw someone do something similar. Let's make it our own. That's kind of where the creativity comes from with any of those videos.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, we're very good with the flow with it. Whatever happens, happens.
Do you have a favorite video that you guys did for like whether it's a meme or just a trend or a challenge or anything like that? Is there one in particular that sticks out to you?
I have one.
I think I know which one Will's gonna talk about. Will, you go.
So we were in Europe, and I think we were in Belgium, I believe. And Gabe was scooting around the hotel lobby on his suitcase, and he was laying on it. So we were pushing him back and forth. And so John pushed him to me. And so I pushed him somewhat sideways. And needless to say, he toppled straight to the ground. And thankfully, our driver was filming all of this. So we got to edit it. And we made it so as soon as he hit the ground, he blew up.
Explosion.
And for some reason, that video just cracks me up to this day.
To the point where now that's kind of become like our shtick for like the low effort videos. It's just like we're doing something random happens, and like the people who follow us kind of see it coming at this point, but the people who don't follow us, it's just like random explosion. Like, boom.
Out of
It
nowhere.
just gets us every time. I think that's, yeah, one of the favorite ones. Because it's crazy because our humor is very, I'd say, like zoomer. Well, meanwhile,
Mm.
Gabe and I are just like Gabe and I are the millennials, and like Will is the only zoomer right here. And for some reason, all of our humor is just like coincide. And Adam just looks at us like, what?
You guys doing?
I've always wondered what Adam's like because, like you said, he's not really on social media, and like I
Yeah.
wonder. But you guys, the three of the rest of you are like on it, on the ball. You guys, your personalities come out really easily. Your sense of humor is all over the place. So I was wondering how like what his emotions like when you guys are in the middle of doing all this crazy stuff.
Usually he's just observing, and he knows that, this is what we do, this is how we are. He just observes, and he's like, and if anyone's like watching, like the last time that we did one of these like explosion videos, it was like Will and I just like slapping each other. And he just goes, he looks to the random person that's there. He's like, welcome the Pistols at Dawn. Cue explosion. Boom.
He knows it's necessary.
But as far as his personality goes, he's a super driven guy, super into what he does. I mean,
Stoic.
you see it very stoic, and then you see it when we're on stage. He's just all mean energy. He loves just like beating the heck out of the drums, making like very just like hard hits. Super intense. That's his vibe.
See, from a musical perspective, you guys are very high energy. You guys are very hook driven. So I imagine, because I haven't gotten the chance to see you guys live yet, but I imagine that translates pretty well on the stage, and you guys have a pretty lively performance.
We love playing live more than anything. I mean, that's like the thing that we live and breathe for. And without a doubt, whenever we perform, we want to give people a show that they haven't seen before. And even with us, being like an opener most of the time, we always go in with this mentality of like, no, we're the first headliner. Like we're the first one to kick off this thing and get it going. So we love getting out there and just giving it everything we got every single night because I mean it's where we always want to be. It's our lives.
As far as new music goes, recently, last year, you released two new singles, Obsession and Not Sorry. I'm having trouble trying to figure out which one I like more, but I think they're
Good.
both yeah, they're both incredible. And they're part of your upcoming album. I know there's probably not a lot that you can say right now about it, but I'm assuming the album's going to come out this year, right?
More
Maybe.
than likely, possibly, maybe. So we recorded all of it last year in January. We went on this big trip to LA. We recorded. We were there with two producers. It was some of the coolest experiences we've had. We were all holed up together in a house. We'd go to the studio all day. We'd get back to the house and Will would just be like tracking guitars or like thinking of a solo to do, and he's like he texts us. He's like, guys,
Did it in my bedroom.
I think I got it. He just did it in his bedroom, and like we go in and listen, and like, oh my god, this is crazy stuff. And we're so excited to release all of it. But as the industry these days goes, singles, you need to push every single song. And I'm Not Sorry is just it's been doing so well for us. We're number 30 on the Billboard mainstream rock charts with that one right now. We are charting on media base also in the 30s, and we're just trying to push the heck out of it. You see it on our social medias. It's like on all of our TikToks. And as much as we love Obsession as well, Not Sorry is the one that picked up just a little bit more. But every single song is just special in its own way. The album is all across the board. And we just might throw some people for loops because you never know what's going to come next. But like I said, all across the board, it has a piece of each of us in this album. It's the first album that Will, Gabe, and I actually wrote with the band.
Yep.
So it's going to be special.
So excited.
I'm really glad you touched on that too, because I had so many questions about the writing and recording process of this upcoming album. Because in other interviews, I've heard you mention like how you guys all lived together, you all wrote together, and you lived in a house together. Um, so let's start with that. What was that experience like? Because it sounds like a very old school approach. Because I'm reminded of like bands like Rush and Alice Cooper, and like that's what they would do with their producers and stuff like that. They would live in the house with each other. What was that experience like for you guys?
It was so much fun. Like that was probably the most fun 2 weeks of my life. It was my first time like staying in LA too for like more than a day or two. And but it was just incredible. Like getting to hang out with these guys and go in and write all this music. And it was crazy writing all the music too, because we didn't touch on really any of the writing until we got there. And funny story, we actually had a whole album written before we went that we thought that we were going to kind of recycle and use, but that ended up not happening. So we pretty much went in every day. Every day that we went into the studio, we would be like, all right, what are we going for today? And it would start with either like a little guitar riff or a little vocal here and there. And we would literally build the songs from scratch within a day. And by the end of each day, we would have like the whole structure laid out, and it would only be like little details, like maybe the drums getting tracked or the vocals tracked a little later. And then it was awesome staying in the house because then that way, we could come back and listen to the song and be like, oh my gosh, what if we do this and this a little later? And that's when I would take my guitar into my bedroom and sit on my bed and like write the solo and do all that fun little stuff. So it was just an amazing collaborative experience getting to do that. And work with so many amazing people out there too. The producers and writers we worked with were nothing short of exceptional. And it's just the most fun time. Like I couldn't have asked for a better 2 weeks of my life spent with these
Yeah.
guys.
and it influenced the songs
Mm.
in like a really cool way because after we worked with two different producers, we did four with one and four with the other. And after we finished with the first producer, Gabe just goes, "We should celebrate. We should watch a movie together." And he goes, "Have you guys ever seen Whiplash?" Or like, Will and I are like, "No, we haven't." So Gabe's like, "Oh no, 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 we can't have that. We got to watch Whiplash." So we're watching Whiplash. This guy is like getting so absorbed by the music, so obsessed, he's losing sight of everything else. And the next day, we go to the studio and we write Obsession, and it's literally
Just like that.
using that story of Whiplash, like of course, tying it in because a lot of our music is very autobiographical. It's experiences that all of us have had that we find a way because I think that's the best way to connect to a bigger audience is to having it be something that you've actually experienced, that you've actually gone to, and people relate to that more. So honesty, authenticity, those are the kind of things that you want to go for when you're writing. And especially like this where Adam likes to call Adam, we went out there and Adam goes, "I want to write the best album in the world. I want to be the biggest band in the world." So hey, for us, we did that. So
Like you said, John, this was the first album, the first Pistols at Dawn album with this lineup. So what what did you guys learn about yourselves and like in the process of making that album, and what did you learn about each other as a unit?
ooh, that's actually a
Really
really
good
cool
question.
question
It is.
because going into this, we all had this idea. Like Will said, we wrote a whole album. We had an idea in our head of what Pistols at Dawn was supposed to sound like. And that was based on the previous album that we did, Ascension, which the songs are great, but the songs weren't necessarily the three of us like that joined this band. So we wrote a bunch of demos based on that album, and it would have just have been, as Gabe likes to say, Ascension 2 Electric Boogaloo, which much love to Ascension, much love to Fly. That was like the first song that Gabe and I actually played on the radio edit that we
Mm.
did for that song. But it wasn't necessarily us. And that what we learned is that we didn't have to confine ourselves to that box of what Pistols at Dawn is. That's why we came out with an album that is all across the board. And like I mentioned before, and Will's gonna make fun of me because I say this every time, it has a little piece of each and every one of our musical souls in this. And I say this
So true.
wholeheartedly, I say this earnestly because Gabe has a very video game OST EDM kind of background, and that's how he started, and that was he fell in love with. So the production on this album went way crazier than it had gone on previous albums before. Will's got that fire guitarist soul in him, as if he was touched by Eddie Van Halen himself. I have kind of a bit of a classic rock background between Queen and everything, but I've been told my voice is a little bit reminiscent of like the Eddie Vedder kind of style, the kind of Creed kind of style, and with mixed with a little bit of Incubus here and there. So you take all of those things together, add a bit of that poppy flair, and that's kind of starting to encompass the new sound that we've created for the band. And you definitely see all of our like influences in it. Bonus points to
Man,
anyone listening, if you can call them out.
amen to that. You hit the nail on the head. Like, I mean, that's exactly what I would have said. It couldn't be more true.
Yeah, I found it really interesting, like going back to the band's older stuff and how different of a sound it was, and hearing you talk about the fact that there was an entire other album written before this upcoming one, and that it just got scrapped because it's not sonically you guys. Um, I was curious if there's a chance maybe on a future release or like maybe from a lyrical standpoint, some of those concepts from that album get reworked into a modern Pistols at Dawn style. Is that something that's in your guys' plans?
That's totally possible. And it's funny because I would say throughout the new album that there's a few tiny elements of some of those songs sprinkled throughout. where they kind of got transformed and evolved, like to where, I mean, you wouldn't know that it's the same song or that that's where it came from. But it's funny because like Obsession was sparked from one of the songs that we had written on that album. So it started with a
Yeah.
riff, and then it completely evolved as we, assembled it and threw it together in the studio. So, but yeah, no, I would love to see a few of those songs come together, kind of with a modern, twist. But who knows? We'll see.
This is a very basic question, and I'm sure every band is sick of answering this question, but for people that may not be familiar with you guys, my friend Ken from Sledgehammer Horror always says to his guests, he's like, I want people that don't know you to get to know you. So with this band, like being a whole new lineup, minus Adam, um, how did you guys all meet and like what made you guys want to start making music together?
That's it's actually the craziest freaking story. I mean, Gabe and I were in Luxfam. We've been in Luxfam for like over 10 years. We were doing our thing with that. And I put out a one take vocal performance. And Adam found it on TikTok. And I got an email in my inbox the next day, and it was just like, "Hey, we saw your vocal performance. You have great control. You have a great presence. We'd love for you to come audition for our band. We had a session singer before. We'd like for a permanent member. We just went on tour with Alter Bridge. Like, would you like to come audition?" And I'm just like, huh? Needless to say, 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to Atlanta to audition, and the rest is history. And then
Crazy.
Will has kind of like a similar story
It's
with joining the band.
very similar in a different way. I used to play guitar for a Bon Jovi tribute band, and that was kind of my main gig around here. With so all the hair metal, the
I
old
was about to say
influence and
that kind of
everything.
tracks, not gonna
It
lie.
does, it does. So there's some good Bon Jovi songs, lots of
Oh
Bon
yeah.
Jovi songs. But so anyway, I responded. This Craigslist ad popped up one day, and it was about a band in Atlanta searching for a lead guitarist. And I've never responded to a Craigslist ad in my life,
Hmm.
but for some reason, I felt compelled to respond to this one. And would you guess it? An hour later, I get a call from Adam Jaffe himself, and he gives me the rundown. And within, I think it was 2 weeks as well, I was down in Atlanta rehearsing, and I did the audition. I learned the whole set and auditioned, and same day they're like, "Yeah, let's do this. Like you're in." And I was like, "Sweet."
And then he went on tour with Alter Bridge
And then,
at 21 years
then
old.
6 months later, I'm on tour with Alter Bridge and Mammoth,
Jesus.
which was for my first tour ever,
And
and
yeah,
that
and Mammoth Wolfgang Van
life-changing experience.
Halen
Oh,
was also on that
My
tour.
my idol's son.
yeah, no
I'm
biggie.
just I'm just like, okay, cool.
That's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
It's crazy, crazy how this thing
It's
came together.
such like it's a crazy story. After the after those tours, like also we needed a new bassist, and the first guy I think of is Gabe. Just like, oh my God, I gotta pull him with us. I mean, he loves music as well. He
Mhm.
really loves music. He wasn't even a bassist yet. He was a guitarist, but ended up falling in love with bass as well. He's a phenomenal bassist now too. So it mixed well. We all get along. Like I said, it's like going on the road with my brothers like all the time. We have such fun together. We have such fun hanging out, trying new foods, seeing all these different places, watching animes, talking about everything. So yeah.
One thing I really wanted to ask you guys about is your crossover appeal as far as the European audience goes, because like you look across the pond and I feel like us Americans are kind of spoiled with how often bands get to tour through here. And I don't know if this is true, but speaking as a band who gets to perform there relatively often, is it true that the audiences in Europe are just built different?
Depends on the country and depends on the city. Throughout the tour, there were some countries where people are really outgoing, really just there to party, throw down, and have a great time, and then other ones where they just reserved, laid back. They just look, they bob their heads. But then they come after the show, it's like, you guys were amazing, and blah blah blah. And we're like, oh, we thought we were like we thought you guys weren't vibing with it kind of deal. But so there's countries like Italy. We played in Bologna in Italy.
Insane.
I think our our
Insane.
our intro track started and
Yeah,
people started screaming, and we were all just like, "What
it's
is
crazy.
going on?"
Italy
It's
was
like
mad. Germany too, of
Germany
course.
is crazy.
Insane.
Everyone comes early. Everyone comes early, which is like a great plus because yeah, in America we're spoiled. Spoiled people come only for the headliner because they know like, oh, there's gonna be an opener, and it's like kind of that mentality. But they come from beginning to end, and those fans, some of them came to like 3, 4 shows on the run. I think with that when we were on tour with Des Rocks, like, of course they started coming for Des Rocks, but stayed and like ended up keep coming. Who weren't wasn't there one that went to 14 shows on that tour?
Yeah.
14 shows on that tour.
Insane.
At the end, they brought us presents. We were just like, what
Yeah.
the hell is going on here?
Unreal.
Um,
Super
but
famous.
yeah, as far as built different, different places have different appeals, of course. I think being punctual, that's something that we can take over in our beautiful country of ours. Being punctual, staying for the opening band, you might find your next favorite band, your next obsession, the next thing
Mhm.
that you love seeing.
Being
But
open to new music, you know?
yeah,
I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of people go to shows and they only want to hear what they're going for. And they immediately put up this wall where they're like, I don't care about anything else. And there's a lot of bands out there that are killing it. I mean,
oh yeah.
especially, bands that aren't near on the scale of other bands. I mean, the talent level is unmatched nowadays. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny you mentioned that point of just how a lot of audiences here domestically just don't seem to be open to new music. Because it also translates to the headliner. Because I can't even tell you how many shows I've seen, and they're like, man, I don't want to hear any new stuff. Just play
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
hits. And as a younger fan of a lot of these classic bands, I love everything they've ever made. So it's like
Yes.
so if I go to see Alice Cooper, I want to hear like
Hmm.
everything. So I wonder, like, especially for you, Will, for someone who's so entrenched in classic rock, um, especially, Van Halen, and
Hey, man.
so what's it like adjusting to a new sonic demographic? Because like you have bands like Greta Van Fleet that are kind of popular for like bringing a resurgence to the classic 70s sound, but I would say a lot of the more prevalent rock bands now are still like having modern sensibilities to them, and they're
Hmm.
incorporating electronic elements and
For
orchestral
sure.
stuff to a certain degree. So do you find it difficult to incorporate classic rock elements into modern music for you guys?
That's a great question. Like that's really cool. Like, and I've never really thought about this in detail either. But it's funny because when I joined Pistols, it kind of had reminiscent, the Ascension sound and all the previous stuff. There were elements of that classic rock undertone that you're talking about, and like
Very grungy
less,
stuff.
yeah,
And
very
yeah.
grungy, very
Yeah.
90s, oriented. And that wasn't exactly my wheelhouse necessarily, but I found it pretty easy to adapt to that because I love, I love Metallica. I love riffy songs. It's like my bread and butter. But when we went to LA and wrote all this new stuff, it was definitely a step out of my comfort zone in terms of what I was just used to playing my entire life. But one thing I will say is that I love so many different genres of music. I mean, I love everything. Like I love electronic, I love synthwave, all the old school 80s pop stuff. So then you kind of hear all those electronic elements. And so going into it, I was kind of like, well, I'm familiar with, both sides to this. So then, it just kind of all happened naturally while we were out there. And it didn't really have to force it necessarily. Like it felt pretty easy going into it, but definitely different in the way that you're describing. But it definitely like it was eye-opening and made me think in a different way as a guitarist, for sure. Because I can't, like on some of these songs, I can't just go berserk. Like I gotta, I gotta write for the song and make the song sound the best that it can possibly sound, for our audience and everything and all the elements of the song combined. But it was really a blast getting to do that, and I feel like I came out of that as a much different guitarist now. Like I would not be who I am now if it weren't for that experience. Getting to go out there in LA and be pushed in that direction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like with Will, it's also Will has such an unmistakable signature sound to his playing. Like that classic element just gets added like in because of the note choices that he has in his solos. It's you instantly, oh my God, that's Will. That's Will for sure. And we kind of make fun of him a little bit for it, but it's just us like joking around. He loves his chorus effect
I
on the
do.
guitar, and that
Classic 80s
instantly
sound,
it gives you
man.
like that 80s edge to like the music, and it's like it just meshes so well with our music. And like I said, signature Will James. Like you're gonna hear that tone, you're gonna be like, ah, yeah, that's Will. That's Will's guitar.
I'm so glad you mentioned the chorus effect too, because that was one of the first things I
Yeah.
noticed. I was like, oh, I can almost see the hairspray passing me.
Yes. Amen.
Well, I kind of want to pass that same kind of question along to you, John, because you also have a very distinct voice. And I think just as a unit, when I hear, when I think of songs that I hear on Octane or just on Apple Music, just popular modern bands in general, I can kind of tell what category they fit in. But you
Mm,
guys, it's like, oh, this is Pistols at Dawn. Like I can tell it's a Pistols at Dawn song. And I think a big part of that comes to your voice as well. And you also, like you said, you have a lot of classical influences as well. Um, so what's it like trying to figure out what works best for a Pistols at Dawn song? Because, like you said, it started out very different sonically before you guys joined. So, was it kind of a tough process, kind of trying to fit into the previous category with when you wrote that first album together?
definitely, because subject matter in writing, that was like a hard thing to come by. It was hard to not have it sound like very cheesy tough guy music, and it's the experience in LA definitely gave us a lot much more freedom, much more of a better direction into making it something that's really authentic, like I said. And a lot of I guess my voice and the sound of my voice that comes also maybe a little bit from my accent, and me not being from the States and my first language being Dutch. So it's I've noticed like a trend of like unique voices being the more memorable ones in like most bands, and most producers that I speak to. Some try and like suppress the accent a little bit. Others are a little bit more embrace it a little bit more. Some vowels, some words that I say. If I say three, like I don't say the three like an American, like in the corner of my mouth, but sometimes it just like rolls at the front, which is what I was used to my whole life. However, it wasn't once we figured it out, it wasn't that difficult. Usually just it's a question of range, and trying to find what works best with my voice because coming into the band, oh my God, all the songs were out of my range. Like all the songs were, we
I
had
remember.
to, it's once Will made
We
the
lowered.
suggestion, hey, how about we play everything in drop C? Oh my God,
It's
that
like,
made a
yes.
world of difference. My voice was instantly a better fit for all the songs. And yeah, we rolled from there because a lot of the time the singer is the one that the crowd that the person listening like they sing along to the lyrics
The human element.
and the human element, and you have to kind of have that in mind when you're writing the song. As much as I'm a guitarist myself, as much as I'm a writer and an arranger myself, I do know that sometimes you have to really make it so the vocals are framed in a certain way to make it a successful catchy song, something for the radio. So
This is another question probably more geared towards you, John, because I know you and Gabe make music together in another project. Shout out to Luxrum. And it's more of a proggy sound. So when you two write together, has there ever been a point where you're like, this might work better for Pistols at Dawn, or vice versa?
So that's a great question. So when we write with Luxrem, it's a different vibe completely because we have other musicians in that band as well. Peter and Marcus, who are, virtuosos in their own right, and Marcus is just like a crazy guitarist as well, but on a different spectrum of things. He went more the Avashi Petrucci realm of things, in a very just interesting timing things and super crazy skills that he likes to like hone. And so it's unmistakable when we're writing for Luxfam, it's a different mindset. So when we're writing for Luxfam, something for Pistols won't necessarily bubble up, which
Hmm.
is it's when we're alone, it's when it's just me writing in my room. It's like, oh, I got a bit of inspiration here and there. I'm like, okay, this is a Pistols at Dawn song. Or I'm like writing, and this happens a lot less lately. It's just like the proggy stuff because once you kind of get like used to writing the more radio friendly sound, the more active rock, which I hate that term, but the mainstream rock sound, you get kind of place yourself in less of a box, so more things flow out. But to answer your question, no, when we're writing for Pistols, and it's the three of us in a room or the two of us in a room, it's like we're in Pistols mode. When we're writing for Luxor, it's like, okay, no, we're in Luxor mode. We're in Dream Theater meets Animals as Leaders meets Leprous meets all that. So
Can I ask what you don't like about the term active rock? Because I'm really curious now.
it's just at first I was just like, I don't even know what that means. And then I'm just like, what's the it's all rock is active. Like why
I don't know.
what
It
does
feels
active had to
overused.
do?
Feels slightly overused. I feel like it, I don't know. I feel like it puts bands like in a box. Like they're like,
Yeah.
This is what they are." Whereas it feels like you're so much more than just rock. Like, because
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many more elements to these songs than just rock. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I
And
feel
I'm
you on that, John.
I mean at that point, why didn't we just keep calling it rock? Like what's the difference? Like, and
Subgenres.
all the because there's so many there's so many subgenres and a lot of people get pretentious with them. It's just
True.
why didn't we just keep it on rock? It's like,
I completely agree, especially like in the metal scene, because you have all these people saying what's real metal and what's not real metal, and that gives me a headache. But I
exactly.
imagine, Will, you might feel this way about like calling 80s hard rock hair metal, like because I
Yeah,
know
well,
originally that was a derogatory term, but now it's kind of like used affectionately now.
no, for sure. Yeah, no, there's definitely the bands that fit like in the hair metal genre. And it's funny because a lot of those bands had like their hair metal phase.
Hmm.
Like that was just like a period of time where it's like that's the thing.
Pantera.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
literally, Pantera had the hair metal phase, which is
Yeah.
crazy. So yeah, I love it. I think it's a fun term because it's definitely had its place in history.
That's fair. Speaking of your European tour, I saw that Moon Fever was also on the bill with you guys. They came to my hometown of Jacksonville, North Carolina. I think they were on the package with A Killer's Confession and Drowning Pool. That's when I saw them, and I was blown away by them. And so
They're
I'm
awesome.
wondering what your experience was like touring with those guys.
Absolute madmen. They
They're
are
the
the
homies,
boys. There
the
are
boys.
homies. Tristan is a monster of a frontman.
They're
Just
freaking
absolutely love
psychopaths, and we
him.
love them.
He would make us afraid in a different way every night for his life. I mean,
Literally,
he would climb up on the PA system and just be hanging by like a chain this small from the
just
roof and
hanging
just like
like
hanging
30
over the
feet in the
crowd.
air. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
And at the same time, they were such sweethearts. I mean, we shared a drum kit, we shared, dressing rooms. We got to talk to them, we got to share experiences. We happen to have the same management, so we're around them a lot, and we're in like the same kind of circles.
Hmm.
So if you're listening, boys, we love you. Yeah,
Love them.
boys.
Love the boys.
Now, getting to tour with so many different artists from a sonic perspective, have you like had any inspirations from maybe a musical or just a live energy standpoint of like what you might bring into your own show after learning from the people that you worked with? Maybe not
Yeah.
standing 30 feet in the air, but
Nah, damn, reading us like a book, dude. Like
All
honestly,
right.
I mean, Des Rocks. He
Tell him,
inspired.
John.
Des Rocks was super inspirational to watch. What an amazing performance! What an amazing band! What an amazing frontman as well. He had all of us like every night entranced, and they would end their set with a song called "Suicide Romantics," and I think like it brought all of us to tears at one point or another on the tour,
Beautiful
and
song.
it didn't lose the magic at all for us, and it actually kind of so I had spoken about the songs that we wrote out in LA. Well, while we were on tour in Europe, I was I was so addicted to that song, Suicide Romantics. I kept listening to it every day. And we're sitting in the van one day, and all of a sudden I go, oh, I start writing, and I look at Will. I'm like, Will, tonight, bring your guitar to the room. And we ended up writing we ended up writing a song, and I think that song's also going to be on this upcoming album, and it definitely inspired by Mr. Danny Rocco, Des
Amen.
Rocks.
Amen.
um, yeah, so definitely we draw our influences from who are around, and lately the stuff I write has been very like kind of rock and roll, a la Des Rocks, a la The Warning, because Will got me on The Warning, and I'm like in a kick and a kick for
nice.
that right
Uh,
now. So yeah.
I imagine because I hear from touring bands in America all the time, they're like, we don't really get to see as much as people think we do. It's like from the venue to the hotel to this that, to the next one, basically. But in Europe, like, were you able to take in like more of the cultures there, being a new place and like another side of the world? Were you able to get more time to spend in different places?
Depended on if we had a day in between, in
Mm.
a travel day in between. The distances were sometimes long, but they weren't super crazy.
True.
So if we would wake up early and we would drive like a good amount, like halfway to the next city, if we drive for like 8 hours, we still get there, it's still light out, we'd be able to explore. But then I turned 30 while we were on the road, and it happened to be an off day, and we were in Paris.
Oh,
So
That was awesome.
we took the whole off. The next day was not going to be too long of a drive, so we took the whole day just exploring Paris. We went to the top of the Eiffel Tower. We walked past the Louvre. We went to Notre Dame.
Mm,
Got to take in some of the sights. We had French onion soup in France, you know, that kind of stuff.
the best.
So yeah, it really depends. In Europe, that was a little bit easier. In the US, it was gas stations and hotels. That's kind of
Loves
it. Yeah. Loves, oh my God.
the goat.
Loves coffee is so good.
True. Jeez.
now when it comes to new music and this album and whatever comes after this album, um, like you said, like the grunge-ish sound of the previous lineup, that might not be in the cards for future releases, but is there any other Sonic territory, whether it's like mixing up genres or anything like that, that you outright think, look, hey, we will not do this, we won't do this, anything like that?
I don't think
um,
anything's off limits at this point.
no, I really don't. I mean, like, instead of going to like an avant-garde, like
Yeah,
if you're going to
I
like an
mean,
avant-garde jazz like flute
not
solo,
not to
I don't think so.
not to spoil
But
too much, but I mean we've covered a lot of genres on this album.
we kind of did. Um, a lot of it, like when you're listening to it, like we've had people listen to it and like tell us like what this reminds me of. And the funny part is you get a different answer every single time.
Do
So it's no
make of
any
it
and
what they make of it.
yeah, like Will said, we love all kinds of styles. We love all kinds of blends of genres, and that truly kind of shows in the stuff that we do. So I don't think anything really, aside from crazy flute solos, are are off limits.
True.
Maybe next time.
Maybe we gotta hit country at some point. I think that's the only thing we haven't hit.
Oh yeah.
Uh, look, I don't know if you guys listened to Bill Murray, but his last album was very
Love love me some Bill Murray.
Dude, I'm obsessed with his music. The fact that seeing him tour with Sleep Token was the craziest thing in my head because I think of Bill Murray as like the meme god. He's got all sorts of crazy stuff with his music and his personality. Then you get Sleep Token, who's like very dark, very serious. I'm like, how is
Yeah.
that gonna work? But everybody loved him on the lineup. I was like, hell yeah.
It's
Awesome.
they have the voice works. I think both voices work in like a really great way. Sleep Token is my favorite band at the moment. I mean,
Mm.
I'm a worship dude. They are amazing. I have all three albums like LPs. I listen and I don't want to be that guy, but like before the blow up, like my friends had shown me the first album and the first song, The Night Does Not Belong to God, and I was like kind of hooked since. I loved everything from This Place Will Be Your Tomb, and then we were eagerly awaiting for Take Me Back to Eden to come out. And it's been such a wild ride. But funny enough, I've seen videos from the tour and they're starting to let their personality shine through a little bit on one of the nights. Like the
Oh.
a tech like comes out through the stage with a switch. And Vessel walks up to him. He's like, "What are you doing?" And then he hands him the switch, and Vessel like beats the level for him real quick, gives it back, and then the guy goes back down the stage. And it's like, yeah, all right. You guys are nerds just like all of us. This
Yeah.
is perfect.
Now, with how much Pistols at Dawn has blown up with these last two singles, especially Not Sorry, how much of an indication of what the whole album is going to sound like do you think these two singles are so far?
You won't see the next one coming at all.
Eight, I'd say 8%.
You're gonna hear, people are gonna hear the next song and we're half scared and half excited like at the reaction.
There's so many songs that we just adore. We wish everybody could hear them right now because I mean, we'll literally like sing them to each other every day just because we're that addicted to them.
How much of them were you able to play in Europe?
All of them.
All of them.
Jeez. God, I wish I lived
All
in
of
Europe.
them. All of them except for two, I think.
Oh yeah, all of them except for
And
two. So we did all the new songs in Europe. It just felt right. It felt we had to introduce everyone to the new version of Pistols because the first time we went there, we played the old album
yeah,
Hmm.
when we went to the UK with Fozzy, and that fit for that crowd. But this time we were with a younger bands, and this was we felt it was the time. It's like, hey guys, don't get used to that old sound because this is us. This is the ones that we wrote. And we all let it out there. And the stark difference in reaction was also crazy. They at first they were like they already like we played, they loved us, we made lifelong fans because of it. And then they heard the new stuff and they were like, "Oh my god, this changed everything."
totally different live feel too. Like the show is completely different than the old show.
Hmm.
So it was like we need to like do this now because it doesn't even compare to the old stuff, to be honest.
I was wondering if, like, on this most recent tour, if you were able to, like, obviously that you would want to play new songs, to like get people familiar with the new sound. And I was wondering if you like mixed in old songs in the set and how well they work together. But it sounds like the whole set was all new stuff.
All new stuff. We didn't even try the old stuff. On the
Funny
US
on
tour
our
that
yeah.
yeah, funny on our US tour, we had to
Oh,
because there was like at the
A
last
special
show,
request.
there was like a special request, and this lady would just like not leave until we played Fly. So
oh man.
we all kind of like looked at each other. We were just like, okay, we
Let's
haven't
do
played
it.
we haven't played this in months. Let's start
Boom.
it.
Nailed it too.
Nailed it.
Dang.
Yeah, but no, the new stuff that was all we played. Uh, what's it called? We have one cover that we throw in our set, and that's just like one of the highlights of our set is our covers of Bulls on Parade.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
because that's the song that we all get to go like the max all out to, and we're all just the crowd just goes along because for a lot of these people, it's like their first time ever hearing us, and you wanna find this common ground with them, and having a song like that from Rage, from these legends that they can just throw down to, they knew all the lyrics, and us adding our own little Pistols flair on there. Oh, that's yeah.
Before I let you guys go, this is my favorite part of every interview. I have a speed round for you. I
Yeah.
got 5 questions. You can elaborate as much as you want. The speed part is not very strict. Um, the first question, your favorite song to play live.
It was unanimous. Like, it's one of the new ones coming off of the album, and
I'm just gonna say the title because I
yeah,
can.
do it,
Jungle.
jungle. Yeah,
But you don't know what that is though, but
I
you will
you
don't.
don't
find
know
out.
what that is yet, yeah. But yeah, jungle is our favorite one. It's the one that we started our set with. It is the song that hypes us up the most, because just the subject matter. It's flexing. That song is just straight flexing the entire time. So yeah, that's our favorite song
Your
to
most
play live.
embarrassing moment on stage.
Oh, can I say
Oh,
that one? I can't even say that. Oh my God. All right. So,
I got mine.
God, I'll just say it this way. I got told that there was going to be someone very special in the crowd that I needed to shout out. And I pointed,
I forgot
I,
about this. I forgot.
I pointed at them. I called out their name. I dedicated the next song to them. And then I turned around and our drummer goes, "That's not him." And then I look at our bassist, Gabe, and he's pointing in front of him. And I go, in the fly, I go, "Wait, that's not that guy. That's that guy. That's the other badass. Start the song." That was
Oh
definitely
gosh.
up there. There was a half a second in my head where it was like, all right, you could just walk off. And
So funny.
I was
So
lucky
funny.
that that wasn't me, because I would have just gone, well, what are the odds of that happening? And then and then show's over.
That's so funny.
So yeah.
Mine isn't near as good as John's, but on the Europe tour, we would play Obsession, but before Obsession, John would kind of give this little rundown, kind of breakdown before the song, and we'd get everybody to get their flashlights out, like on their phones. So there's all this build up, like there's all this hype, like okay, what's coming? Like here we go, we're about to play Obsession. So the first chord of Obsession. I played the completely wrong chord. And it was completely out of key too. Like it couldn't have been a worse chord to play. And so the very first note that anybody heard was that.
it's just it's just you just hear like the tracks in the background
Yeah.
like swelling, and it's just like with reverb on it and delay, and we're all just like trying to keep it together.
It was one of those moments where I just looked down in shame. I was like, oh wow.
Oh
But
my.
the chords changed pretty quick, so it didn't last for too long.
Yeah.
Well, that's a plus.
For sure.
Your dream tour lineup.
Oh,
So hard.
that's so hard because
Come
like
on.
it's like the one that
Everybody.
you really want. It's just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
Sleep Tokens, Bad Omens, and like Pistols at Dawn, you know? Or I think as far as like how our new music is shaping up to be, maybe a dream tour lineup for us would be Bring Me the Horizon, Dayseeker, Pistols at Dawn. I think that one would be a dream lineup for us.
Pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go with that.
Your favorite thing to do outside of music.
Music.
Ooh. We'll just like
Same.
music. Um, for Gabe, I can answer that, and that's video games. Because Gabe is
True.
avid gamer. Will find anything he just gets addicted to. For me, I have to say just exercise, fishing, going outdoors. Like that kind of stuff. I've been called by Gabe an incognito redneck before, but that's just I think that's just because I'm
It's
from the
true.
jungle. I'm from the jungle. These are
He's
kind
from
of
the
the things
jungle.
that we do down here. So
I'll say food and as of recent pickleball.
Pickle. Yeah, you're from South Carolina.
Yeah, you know it. You know it.
yeah.
But one v one pickleball, not duos.
Oh,
I think duos
dang.
is lame. I like 1v1.
I've
That's
never played it, and I'll
Hot
still wreck
take.
you.
Hey, whatever. I beat you one time in ping pong in LA.
You were right. You're
Just
right.
once.
this is always my favorite one. The song you wrote that means the most to you.
Ooh.
Oh my
Ooh.
God. From recent, I'd say the one that I was inspired by the Des Rock tour. For me right now, that one is the one that like is it tugs at the heartstrings because it's kind of like it's like a promise to myself and like to so
Yeah.
I think that one I can't say the name because the album ended up being called that name. So
Oh,
True.
oh yeah.
True.
So I can't say it yet, but that is one of the songs that means the most to me. Yeah.
If I had to pick one from the new stuff, I would probably say Obsession. Um, just I don't know, the overall vibe that I get from playing that one is just I don't know, it just feels like it warms my heart to play that song. And one that's not on the album. It was funny. This is a little hidden gem. This was the one that was written on the album before that got scrapped. There's one on there that is probably that one probably means the most to me. But
Yeah.
who knows when that one may ever get heard.
I was about to say we'll never get to hear it now.
I don't know. You'll get there. That one will be made at some point.
Was that album, was it recorded or was it just written?
It was
Uh
demoed.
it was
Oh,
So
demoed.
yeah, so we
Yeah.
we had like all the rough like we have all the audio files of them, but yeah, it's just rough and kind of thrown
Yeah.
together.
It's gotten to the point where we can like kind of record from anywhere,
Yeah.
which we kind of like proved on this last tour because I just did some work with a couple of producers or just writing songs for sync libraries and things like that. And we just recorded those from our hotel rooms. Like Will literally engineered for me as I like sang and we thought of things like on the fly. So
Amen.
that was everything I had for you for this go around. Was there any closing message to any Pistols at Dawn fans watching?
stay tuned for all the super cool stuff coming out. Like we said, end of the month. Keep your eyes peeled. You're gonna be pleasantly surprised
Amen.
at what's gonna be coming. Follow us if you don't know us. Pistols at Dawn official on Instagram and TikTok. If TikTok's still a thing by the time this episode airs, and then Facebook Pistols at Dawn Band. Check us out, follow us. We post videos all the time. We're funny in our own way, and we're honest, honest. We're unapologetic, and we are Pistols at Dawn.
We love y'all.
Pew 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 pew
I feel like I
pew
need to put in a horn sound there.
Yeah, there you
Well,
go.
thank you guys so much for the time. I really had a really fun time talking with you, and I hope to see you guys live soon. Maybe this year, maybe next year, however long
Amen.
it takes.
Yes.
Hell yes, we are moving heavens and the earth to get a U.S. tour. Finally, we've been in Europe too much. No, now we gotta be on home soil. So
Yeah.
Amen.
yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And to all the Pistols at Dawn fans watching, thank you for watching. And until the next interview, stay tuned, stay scared, and I'll catch you later.